Hi, I'm Sasha Wallinger. Welcome to the Web3 Track Room. We're thrilled to have you here. We will be speaking about how role play will change the world. That was the quip there. Just letting everybody shuffle into your seats. And I'll welcome to the stage Michael Ronen. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. Welcome, welcome.
Yes, yes. Hi. All right, great. So everyone, thank you for coming. So nice to see you all. So I brought this very funny title for my presentation. So let's dissect it for a second. So PFP, anyone ever heard this name? Profile pictures, okay? So just from 2D profile pictures to 3D interactive avatars and how role play. Anyone heard about the word LARP? Just raise your hand. LARP, live action role play. Okay, good. We have the right audience. That's nice. Okay. So how would live action role play change the world? And I use this title because, you know, I've been in this space, and I'll talk about it in a second, for maybe 12 years. And we talk a lot about the tech and what can you do with the tech. But I think it's also important to ask why. And you know, what's the result and the outcome that we want to have by using this tech? Hello, join in, come and sit with us. So here is a picture of a profile picture of an avatar called Crypto Novo. Anyone seen Crypto Novo? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, very good. So I'll tell you the tale of Crypto Novo. So Crypto Novo is an NFT crypto punk. Have you heard about the crypto punks? Okay, so now owned by Yuga Labs, the owners of Bored Ape Yacht Club. They also and now acquired the CryptoPunk collection. So Crypto Novo, I met at the first NFT New York. And he's a collector of this punk, but he also embodies the character of the punk. He dresses up, like you can see over there, as his own CryptoPunk. He welcomes people with stickers and with different kind of merchandise that he created around his character. And he created a whole community around him of people supporting him and basically supporting also the path to this ecosystem, creating a lot of 3D Crypto Novo punks and augmented reality effects of Crypto Novo. And this tale is very important to what I'm going to talk about, is how are we going to embody the avatars and the characters that we are currently seeing people collect in the NFT space. So a little bit of a short introduction about myself. So I was, for many years, a theater director. I did a lot of immersive theater, interactive theater, site-specific theater. And I was living in Berlin at the time. And in 2012, I got really interested in bringing the theater into the internet. And I was thinking, how can we bring the scarcity that that theater has into media? So I created a startup, then it was called Virtual Time Capsule, or capsuling. And the idea was about creating experiences that are bound to a location. So you can only hear a song when you are next to a bridge during sunset. And you could only start the party when there's 20 people coming together to the middle of the forest in Berlin, and then you can start the party. So giving scarcity to media, because theater requires us to be a group of people like here, an audience and a performer, sharing real-life interactive vibes with each other, right, and emotions and reactions. And there's something, there's scarcity around it, right? The moment that this talk will end, this is it, it's done. And it's only in your own memory and possibly imagination. So how can we bring this into media and into the way we communicate with media? I was exploring this, and then a group called The Collective, The Machine to Be Another. Anyone heard about The Machine to Be Another? Check them out, incredible. They have been doing an experiment in Berlin where it was called gender swap. Maybe you saw this video. One person is wearing a VR headset, another person is wearing a vest with a camera that is controlled by the VR headset motion. So basically, you can swap perspectives and you enter another person's body. What was so interesting for me about this experiment is the opportunity of embodying someone's narrative, the emotional and empathy, emotional intelligence effect that it had on the person wearing the VR was incredible. You immediately feel like you are the other person. So I was excited very much. It was 2014, 15. I was very excited about the possibilities with VR. And I created my first VR startup. It was called Splash. And the idea was that you could capture a 360 experience only with one phone, with one camera. And the way you would do it, you would take multiple looping videos and you would compose them in one space. So it was really interesting concept of time-space continuum, and how can you actually embody a moment, a point of view? Because even in reality, right now you're looking at the screen, then for a second you look at me, right? We can only look at one thing at a time, and this is how our perception works. So it's interesting that if each one of us would capture this room, our splashes, our captures would be different. Right? And one more very big insight that we had from this startup in 2016, we had a million users using an iPhone to capture 360 videos. At that time, it was quite a lot. And the idea is that they could send a telepathic SMS to each other. So there was this headset called Homido. I don't know if you know, but it was like a little glass that you put on your glass, on your phone, and you can look around and just check quickly the 360 video. And with all the videos that we got, what was really an interesting insight is that people didn't know how to deal with this new reality where you can capture everything. So a lot of teenager rooms, instead of the Instagram very curated frame, suddenly you heard like wishy-washy experiences and some movement around people. So people were the focus. And most of the most interesting splashes that we found were attempts for people to capture other people in their environment and tell a story from that. So we pivoted. We pivoted in 2017 to augmented reality. We wanted to complete those lost splashes. We wanted to help them enhance their imagination. And where it led us is in the video on the right is a project called Spilly, where we thought, what if you can play inside someone's video? What if I can reach out to the person, put some perfume, caress them, throw some confetti on them, and participate in the video itself? If I can do an action on this human being that I see in the video, and even in some cases, enter myself inside the video. And that was a very big insight for me, because I realized that we are looking for ways to be more present inside the media. We want to participate. We want to play. OK, so this I call social play versus social distancing, role play parties for emotional intelligence growth. So during the pandemic, I entered a stage where I was really, just before the pandemic, I was very fascinated in the immersive world. I went into escape rooms and live action role play festival in the Nordic countries. And I was really looking into ways that you can be more present and participate more in stories, in narratives. And then the pandemic came. I really had a big dream to make a gym for the social muscle, and then all the gyms closed down. So I couldn't do that in real life, so I went to a place called Clubhouse. Anyone knew or heard about Clubhouse? Raise your hand. There was a social audio app where it's like a huge conference call. You just enter a room, there's people on stage, and there's people in the audience. And if you want to go on stage, you just raise your hand and somebody brings you up. And then you can talk, and all they see is just your profile picture. And I thought, this is a really interesting opportunity. This is a space during the pandemic where we all felt so isolated, where we felt like all our friend circle are narrowing down. So suddenly people went online and looked for intimacy, looked for digital intimacy. And that was an opportunity for me to use my weird theater background and bring in social plays online. So the idea here was, how can we create safe containers? Safety is a very important element when you want to bring people from their normal networking conversation and the masks that they put on themselves to actually be open to be vulnerable and to create a safe container with other people in solidarity with those other people. So we did a lot of games, some examples. One was called Meet My Mother. So imagine that you change your profile picture to your mother, and you only speak as your mother. And people ask you a question, and you answer as your mother. Now, you're doing it not in a psychotherapy session. You're doing it in a virtual room with a group of strangers. And actually, I think there was a real readiness during the pandemic for us to do these weird things. And that was great because it allowed us to experiment with this medium and open up more opportunities for empathy creation. We did examples of a broken object in your room. So everyone, just a little play experiment. Think about a broken object that you have right now in your house. Something that is broken, that you haven't taken care of for quite a while. Now, I will ask you a question, just answer in your mind for a second. Do you remember when you broke? You remember the first time you met your owner? That's you. You are the owner, yes? You remember where you were born? Where were you manufactured? Just say out loud, where were you manufactured? Usually I hear a lot of China. That's the origin of a lot of our objects. But in this way, people change their profile pictures to broken object in their house and started speaking as their broken object. Sounds strange, but actually what happened is a lot of people open up through those activities. They started learning about each other and talking about themselves in a way they wouldn't do usually. So it helps us break through those barriers. By the way, the biggest empathy hack was play your grandmother. I will never forget that. It was a room full of grandmother pictures from all around the world. And I said, oh my God, my Jewish grandmother would never had a chance to meet this woman from Pakistan and from India. What an incredible opportunity that we have. Unfortunately, a lot of things happen to Clubhouse, like many tech products and like that. But I thought that the opportunity of creating a stage where anyone could participate was huge. So we should learn from that. We should learn from the opportunity of making a safe container and a safe space for play. When the pandemic started to ease down, I took this experiment into real life in Berlin. This is a bar in Berlin. So when the people came into the bar, they had a menu of different characters that they could play. And they would scan them and immediately get, with their earphone, they would get prompts by audio. Now, this I call remote control audience. And this is inspired by a theater group in Berlin called Rimini Protocol. They used to take big groups like a flash mob with silent disco earphones around city tours. And I thought that is a great opportunity to give multiple synchronized prompts for people to bring them together to play in real-world spaces. And I think with generative AI and the opportunities that lie ahead, we will see more and more of those kind of play environments taking place. So social play versus social distancing, a way to use the pandemic to work on our crave for developing emotional intelligence. Okay, so I continued doing those parties all throughout the pandemic. Every second Saturday, I did a party in Zoom with a collective called Core Reality. And we were trying to take a group of strangers into what I call this type of fictional collective narratives. So a journey to the moon. People join in Zoom, and we said, hey, come, we are going on the spaceship, and now we will arrive to the observatory on Moon to look on Earth. And we created all those experiences that, again, what I found really interesting, when you take a group of people and we collectively agree on a fictional narrative and imaginary rules of engagement, so this is what happens to the space. When you say we are all now in the 1960s and we will do that for 2 days like this in this space, we would all start to feel like we're in the 1960s. So there's a huge effect of collective acknowledgement for rules of engagement and for a collective narrative. And this then ended up with becoming the virtual Burning Man Playa experience. And if you know the Burning Man, the Playa, it's a space of endless creativity and immersive experiences. So we created these digital camps where you can jump into different camps and meet people. And again, this theatrical device of bringing people into the game world with a host. Now, just around this period, a buddy of mine, Michael Gold, he's a Blender genius, and he asked me, how about we enter this NFT space? I think you would really like it. It's just emerging right now, and I think there's an opportunity to bring everything we talked about play in that space. And we explored that, and he was right. I remembered in the first days when the Bored Ape Yacht Club, the NFT collection, entered Clubhouse. And I was like, hey, I'm doing all the change your profile pictures to something silly. Who are those apes? What are they doing here? And then slowly I realized that this space where people can just change their profile picture to an avatar, this is the perfect space for this type of movements to start. And again, it's not for nothing that the NFT collections came in the end of the pandemic, because we were looking for our tribes. We just lost and faded out so many circles of friends. We were looking for a new place of belonging. So beyond the speculative element of I can be rich like crazy in a second, there was really an element there of belonging. And again, Discord communities were a beginning of that, and then people could actually change their profile pictures. So basically what we've seen is many avatars projects that come out as 2D profile pictures, right? What can you do with it? You can put it as your profile picture. It's a social flex. It's a positioning. It's like a flag of a nation state, of the new nation state of Web3. It's the flag of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but I have my unique combination. And that's where I found generative art and procedural art so fascinating, because you would have a collection of 10,000 characters, but each one has its unique trait. So the owner of the character, like CryptoNovo in the beginning, felt real participation. They felt real ownership. And this is where it's becoming interesting. So Michael and I started working on this thing called Shaderverse. It's an open source add-on to Blender where you can create generative characters, generative game assets in scale. This is a video here from Aiden, who did these amazing swords that you can basically just press generate, and it will change the core attributes. And if you heard about Artblocks is doing it with program, basically. Here, you don't need to develop. You can work directly in Blender. So it's visual programming for designers. And we work then with the biggest NFT collections on their avatar creation, because the whole pipeline of 3D character creation is still, in its early stages. And it's very important to be able to transform those communities that mainly have a profile picture now into playable assets, right? So this is what we've been trying with Shaderverse. And the funny thing, like I tell you my story, nothing makes sense. Like, it's all like random points that, like, if you connect the dots, it makes sense. But individually, each one by itself is kind of random. Like, so let's talk about the experience economy and the play economy. So have you heard the word experience economy? Basically, we had products, and then we said, OK, I think it would be more exciting to sell an experience, not just an actual product. And this shift from experience economy to play economy gives even more weight to the audience, gives more weight to the practitioner. You become your character. You become the hero of the brand. Now, anyone heard about this book, Homo Ludens? It's by a Dutch philosopher written 80 years ago. And this is incredible, because actually there's few things I want to tell you about play. When I say play, most people will have some negative thought in their mind. Isn't it weird? Oh, come on, don't be a child, don't play, work, don't play. No, he explains it to us. He says that the Industrial Revolution made play something that we feel almost awkward about, because they needed us to go to school, to sit in the classroom, to listen, to prepare for the assembly line, and then to go to the factory, and later to the office. So when you think about play, either it's foreplay and different things that are taboo, don't talk about sexuality, or it is child play and it's like ridiculous. And anything in the middle, I would argue, is a bit broken. I think computer games have been broken. I think we had a lot of games that are championing, that are about violence and destruction, and less about cooperation. For me, the promise of metaverse beyond the universe is really promising. As somebody who grew up in Israel, I think a lot about how can we put Israeli and Palestinians together to dream about a shared vision, a shared future. And the opportunity to use metaverse as a playground to test our ideas is really important. It's not a child play, it's actually a political instrument that could be huge, that could really help us. So again, in this book, he says, play is a framework for us to understand reality, to put sense in reality. That's why kids play. They learn through playing. They play and they simulate. Here is how daddy is going and doing this, and here is how mommy is doing this. So they are kind of imitating the reality, and by this they're simulating, their experiences and learning. And we are now entering a space, we're now entering a time where hopefully play would be allowed again, it would be celebrated again. And that's why I like the Web3 community. So here is a picture of me and an NFT collector who basically became her NFT. And again, like Crypto Novo, I think that this that might seem now still a bit awkward in a conference will be the future. Like Comic-Con, right, will be the future of almost every gathering, where we'll come and celebrate our second personality, our alter ego, our spirit animal. We will celebrate it with each other. But in order to do this, we need to have safe container. Now, early on today, Ronen was talking about how important it is to trust the companies that give us those spatial computing devices. And we are not there. We're not there. And part of it is like, not just, oh, you are harvesting my data and you can know everything about it. It's like, what do you want? Why are you bringing this tool to humanity? What is the purpose? And I think when those companies come with an agenda of creating a safe container, a safe space with consent, where people practice consent, when we acknowledge that when you say no, I tell you, thank you for taking care of yourself, because I understand this is your boundaries, right? So when we have a space like this, we can then celebrate play, and we can bring play to everything. Now, what does it mean, play to everything? Let's think about work life, about the office, right? So there is this thing called Morning Gloryville in the UK, where they did parties of techno at 7 o'clock, 6 a.m. in the morning before the work starts. And they saw like a huge rise in morale and fun in the workplace just by doing a party before they start the day. There's a lot of, I would say, the biggest clients from escape rooms are companies doing those companies retreats and team bonding. So there's a lot of opportunity from what we see currently in the market. And if you look at the Chinese market, they took escape rooms and developed it into what I call playrooms. Those are murder mystery rooms, where you dress up as different characters and you come to the room to solve a mystery. So I do see this change. And this change allows us to gather in real-life places like our workplace and use elements of play and gamification to bring employee engagement, to bring employee retention, right? And especially if we do remote work, they give us the headsets and say, yeah, work remotely and do models, but this is boring. Bring me some excitement, bring me some gameplay into my work life, into the office, right? So I think one of the first surprising places we will see play is actually at work. So this is about the workplace. And the next thing is, of course, with brands. So the next thing we will see with brands right now, and I listed some of the options. If I wasn't a brand owner, I would look at my IP, and I would ask myself, can I take the mascot, the logo, one of the characters that connects to my brand ethos, can I bring it as an avatar? Can I do an avatar that is a big avatar collection that is unique to each one of the collectors, each one of the fans and the super fans of my brand, and allow them to steer the narrative of my brand into places I didn't know before. Now, 3D collectible could be experiences, could be words that are created by the fans, and I can even imagine different type of live action role play and alternate reality adventures and campaigns that are being geared by those brands. I'll finish with those two slides. So Again, a movie I think is a must-watch to anyone in this industry because that's possibly the reality we are creating, is The Congress by Ari Folman, the director who did Waltz with Bashir. And the reason why I think it's so interesting that they scan a film actress and they tell her, you never need to play again. Your avatar will play for you. And then they jump into the future and people are taking some kind of microdosing that makes them seem like avatars for other people. So you suddenly see many Robin Wrights walking in the street, right? So where is it all heading? Entertainment brands have a huge opportunity to share their IP with their fan base and let the fan base basically take the world, the story world, and bring it to places that they didn't even imagine. And we see this in real life, like the Disney activation of Star Wars, and we will see it more and more. I think in the future, I imagine kind of a Netflix where you choose how you're going to wake up tomorrow to what type of a gameplay, right? If you saw the movie The Game by Michael Fincher, that is what will happen. The same for shops and entertainment venues. There will come playable spaces. If you know Meow Wolf, they did this Shopping Wolf. So we will see more and more spaces becoming playable spaces. I love Aiden's concept of downloadable theme parks. I always love this concept, like you bring in Disney into your own business. So we are entering this new era of this interactive brand advertisement where basically the brands will allow the fans to create the engagement to bring in the IP to places that they didn't even imagine and kind of extend the narrative of this world. I would like to finish with the thought of if you take it personally, where is the place where you can play more in your life? Where is the opportunity for play today even? And tomorrow I will run the Augmented World Expo after party, where I invite you all to bring your future self. So that's the theme of the party. Thank you so much for taking the time. Here are my details if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much.